Should Mick Mars come back? Should John 5 stay? There's a lot of divide amongst Motley Crue fans over this subject. I thought that the vast majority of Crue heads wanted Mick back, but apparently I've been hearing some mixed opinions from people that have seen the tour, that have seen the band live. I still have not met anyone that's gone to the Vegas residency. I don't even know if the Vegas residency has happened. But a lot of people have said that John 5's guitar sounds kind of like shrill is the word I've heard a lot. I don't know what that exactly, I mean, I know what shrill means. I don't know how shrill kind of like, fits into the whole Motley construct, especially because it's a band with one guitar. I mean, it's not like Rat. It's not like, Aerosmith. It's not like bands with a rhythm guitarist and a lead guitarist like Kiss. It's not like that. It's one guitar. And, Mick Mars, I would say very blues-inspired guitar player, very, very good dexterity, very, very good sort of just like this mind of his. He can play rhythms and leads, not maybe to the point of a Vinnie Vincent or a Jim Gillette. I mean, those guys, but still, because, people could argue that Vinnie Vincent was mostly noise, whereas Mick Mars, he's very melodic, very blues oriented, a lot of jazz influences in there, a lot of classic rock influences. So he's not like just, spitting off a gajillion notes at once, but he's also a very, very fast player, and he's also a very rhythmic player. So I've never heard Mick Mars' guitar playing described as shrill, but I have heard John 5's guitar playing described as shrill. I've also heard a lot of people that don't like John 5's stage persona that much, like it doesn't really fit with the Motley fold, like it's a little bit too like esoteric, a little bit too like gothy. It's not really the Motley kind of feel. It's not the Sunset Strip feel. But he's also not an 80s hair rocker either, not to say that Mick was. I think though that when you look at the Motley catalog, I would think that people would want Mick back. I mean, Mick was never doing cartwheels or jumps in the air or anything like that. He was never that guy. So even in the early 80s, when arguably he was probably at his best health and he had age on his side, he wasn't that guy. He was always like in the shadows, playing his guitar, and especially for the Feel Good tour, where he had the stand with the 3 or 4 guitars on there and the mandolins and the he might have even had like a sitar on there or something. He had like a lot of strings, a lot of stuff going on. And then for the first song on the Feel Good, where he's like doing the like that weird voice he does. I think it's like the TNT track or whatever. But I mean, this is not a guy that was like doing a lot of singing or even background vocals. I know occasionally you would. I mean, all the guys in the Crue are mic'd up, so I'm sure that Mick was like doing some shouts and stuff like that. But the guy was like focused on his instrument. And John 5 is focused on it as well, but I just feel like I'm surprised. I'm actually surprised because I'm in the camp of people that think that, look, it's not Motley if it's not Mick, Tommy, Vince, and Nicky. When Karabi was in the band, I thought that was a very, very good version of the Crue, but I didn't think it was Motley. Basically, I think it was a very good version. When Randy was in the band, I thought that was a very good version. There have been versions I don't like. When Samantha was in there, I didn't like that version. And I don't really like the version with John 5. So, really to me, I would think everybody would want Mick back. Now, people say, look, when Mick is touring, he doesn't move. But again, he's never moved around a lot. He's never really gotten on the mic. I don't think he really talks to the audience very much, which is a little boring. I get that. But John 5 is not Motley Crue. Do you know what I mean? He's not. Randy wasn't. John Karabi wasn't. Samantha wasn't. Who else has been in the band? I feel like somebody else has been in the band. Another drummer. I can't think. I think it was just I want to say it's just been Tommy, Samantha, and Randy, but I feel like there was one other drummer in there, and I can't for the life of me figure out who that drummer was. But I don't think so. I tell you, I would love to have seen Vicky Fox on there, who actually played on Exposed, the first Vince Neil solo, and originally played with Enough's Enough. I think Vicky Fox is a phenomenal drummer. I think he's kind of like, reminds me a little bit of Blas Elias, but I think Vicky Fox is even a better. I mean, Vicky Fox, or Vic Fox now. I guess now it's not 1989 or 1991 anymore, or even, well, he was Vicky Fox in '93 also. I think Vicky is actually his stage name, unless he's become Vic Fox. I don't know. But he was a really, really good drummer, like really, really good. And I think that incarnation of Enough's Enough was their best, you know, with Chip and Donnie, Derek and Vicky. That was the best Enough's Enough there ever was. And then when Vicky joined the Vince Neil band with Dave Marshall and Steve Stevens and Robbie Crane, although I think Phil Suzanne was in there before Robbie Crane, but that was like a really good. They outsold Motley Crue, in my opinion. I believe. I'm not sure if I can actually back that up, but I feel like they did. I don't know. But the point is, though, is that, yeah, there's apparently like a big division amongst Crue heads. I'm hoping that the majority want Mick to come back, because I've not heard a lot of positive reviews about John. The only thing I've heard about John is that he's very active on stage. He's got a lot of good camaraderie with Nicky and Vince. I didn't realize that he was that tight with Vince. I knew he was tight with Nicky, but apparently he's very tight with Nicky. He's very tight with Vince. He's very tight with Tommy, which is interesting because I think that will probably like raise the band morale. And with Mick, I feel like because of his illness and his age, because he's also the oldest one in the crew, I also think that he has a very like sort of he doesn't like to play all the songs. Like he's said it many times before. Generation Swine is his least favorite album, and I think that anything like super electronic or experimental on the goth industrial side isn't really his cup of tea. And even though Generation Swine is a one-off, I feel like Nicky still wants to dabble with that stuff, and I don't think really that Mick likes it all that much. And I think he also has sort of a limited amount of patience for producers that are maybe like haven't been around since the 80s and early 90s, maybe like new age producers that maybe Nicky or Tommy might bring in. And I don't think that he really cares for that either. Again, I don't know, but he just seems like a very like focused rock guitarist. He doesn't have a lot of patience for a lot of bullshit. And I feel like there's a lot of bullshit in Motley Crue. For example, the tracks, is the bass plugged in, the backing tracks, all that stuff that Mick actually pointed out. And I don't think Nicky really liked it too much. And that's why people that, like Carmine Appice out of the gate was very pro Mick. And then he kind of quieted it down because apparently he got maybe a cease and desist, or maybe he was looking at ready to go complaint. And if he just said one more word, they were going to take him down to, Pound Town. I don't know like exactly the expression I'm trying to say here, but they freaked him out and he didn't want to talk about the Crue anymore. But again, I mean, it is what it is. I mean, they tried to say that Mick, couldn't remember his scales and, didn't know what city he was in, a whole bunch of stuff. But the reality of the matter is that Mick, they said Mick didn't want to record and he didn't want to do anything. And Mick came out with a solo record and he blew them all out of the water. And he sold a very, very good amount. He got a lot of streams. The music's phenomenal. And, I think that, and then he also got some victories in the courtroom as well. So I think that Mick came out looking a lot better and a lot stronger than other guys that have sued Motley, like Vince. I don't know if Tommy's been in litigation or if, anybody else has. I don't know if John was. I don't know, but he actually held his own pretty well. So, and I haven't heard much more talk about him, being watered down to 5%. So I'm guessing they either settled something or maybe they're just kind of like circling the wagons and figure out what they're going to do. But with regards to this video, it seems like, the Crue heads are divided. Now, my hope is that there's only a small minority that want John to stay, but I don't know. What do you think? Should Mick Mars come back or should John 5 stay? And why?